White tea. Meet the minimalist of the tea world, made from young leaves and buds that are simply withered and dried, no rolling, barely any oxidation, almost embarrassingly little done to it. And yet that hands-off approach is exactly what makes it special. That light touch preserves a delicate, faintly sweet flavor and a pale golden color once brewed, like tea that never quite grew up. It hails from China's Fujian province, where farmers historically hand-picked only the youngest, most tender buds, since anything less than pristine couldn't survive such minimal processing. Because almost nothing gets altered along the way, white tea ends up tasting like the most honest snapshot of wherever it was grown, sometimes called terroir, though the tea version of a passport stamp works just as well.
Green tea. Here's where things get intentional. The moment the leaves are picked, oxidation gets shut down almost instantly through pan firing or steaming, locking in that fresh, grassy flavor and keeping the leaves vividly green, both dried and in the cup. China and Japan took this same basic idea and ran in opposite directions with it. Chinese green teas get pan-fired for a toasted, nutty edge, while Japanese green teas get steamed instead, landing brighter and more vegetal. And then there's matcha, the showstopper of the green tea world, made from shade-grown leaves stone ground into a fine powder rather than steeped and tossed aside like everyone else.
Yellow tea. Consider this the rare, high-maintenance sibling nobody talks about enough. Yellow tea goes through a strange, almost secretive step called sealed yellowing, where the leaves get wrapped up and left to slowly oxidize in a warm, humid little cocoon after an initial firing. That extra stage smooths out the grassy sharpness you'd get from green tea, leaving behind something mellower and less astringent. Historically, this tea was reserved exclusively for Chinese royalty, and the sheer effort it takes to make correctly has kept it obscure and pricey right up to today.
Oolong tea. This is the tea that refuses to pick a side. Oolong floats anywhere between green and black tea, depending on oxidation level, sometimes barely touched and green-leaning, sometimes pushed almost all the way to black tea territory. Leaves get bruised or rolled to kickstart partial oxidation, then the whole process gets halted at just the right moment to land on the flavor the producer's chasing. Taiwan and China's Fujian province have basically perfected this balancing act, and high mountain oolongs in particular are famous for floral, layered aromas that keep shifting the more times you steep the same leaves.
Black tea. Now we've arrived at the tea everyone actually recognizes. Fully oxidized before drying, black tea develops that deep reddish-brown color and bold, no-nonsense flavor most people picture the second someone says tea. The oxidation process completely transforms the leaves, creating those malty, sometimes fruity notes found in Assam, Darjeeling, and Ceylon. This is also the tea with the wildest backstory, deeply tangled up in British colonial trade routes through India and Sri Lanka, which is exactly why it still dominates cups across the Western world today. Pu-erh tea. This one's basically the fine wine of the tea aisle. Unlike everything else on this list, pu-erh goes through a secondary fermentation process and can age for years, sometimes decades, developing complexity the same way a good wine or cheese would. It comes exclusively from Yunnan province in China, pressed into cakes or bricks for aging and storage. There are two versions, raw and ripe. Raw pu-erh takes its sweet time developing character naturally over the years, while ripe pu-erh cheats the clock with accelerated fermentation, landing that same earthy depth in just months instead of decades. Herbal tea. Plot twist? This isn't actually tea at all. None of these come from the Camellia sinensis plant responsible for every variety we just covered. Instead, herbal teas are infusions built from dried flowers, fruits, roots, or herbs. Think chamomile, hibiscus, or peppermint. Every culture has its own version of this tradition, usually built around specific health benefits or a calming ritual, long before the word tea got casually slapped onto anything you steep in hot water. Technicality aside, herbal tea has fully wormed its way into everyday language, and honestly, nobody's arguing about it anymore.